If somebody was moving to Salt Lake City, what would you tell them?
Salt Lake City's like a little big city. You've got a big city feel without all of the garbage of big cities, right? So it's really clean. There's a lot of things to do, and it's just an overall incredible city. I love it.
Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people, making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Alrighty, let's welcome everybody out today to episode 329 of I Am Salt Lake podcast. My name's Chris.
And I'm Chrissy.
Hey, we're recording today out of our studios at Access Co-working Spaces, right in the heart of beautiful downtown Salt Lake City. Before we get into this episode, Chrissy and I want to wish all of the mothers a happy Mother's Day. Hopefully you had a great day. Hopefully that someone special took you out for breakfast, maybe gave you a foot rub.
Or bought you a steak and chocolates.
Ooh, there we go. Hey, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Five Wives Vodka, Market Source Real Estate, and HostGator. We're going to tell you more about these awesome businesses and why you need to be supporting them. We're going to tell you more about them later on in the podcast. But Chrissy and I, we want to tell you about this episode, who we get to sit down with, who we get to chat with. Shannon Barnson, he is a panelist of the Geek Show Podcast. I have been trying to get him on this podcast for almost 6 years now. He doesn't want to admit it, but I have been trying to track him down. Finally got him on this episode of the podcast.
He's your unicorn.
That's what you say. And you know what?
Yeah.
It's funny because I never thought of it that way, Chrissy. But he really, truly was.
Oh, yeah.
Now I don't know what to do with my life. Now I'm like, well, now that we got Shannon on the podcast.
We're done. Wrap it up.
Well, I think Tony from Geek Show. I still need to get him on an episode of I Am Salt Lake. But this is a great conversation about Shannon. We get to find out how him and Kerry, how they met up and started doing radio stuff together.
And I had no idea how young Shannon was when he started doing this.
And he talks about the story, kind of how, what led them up to start Geek Show Podcast. What a great story. Shannon also shares stories of, his bartending days at the Burts Tiki Lounge. If this is your first time here and you have not had a chance to check out any of the other episodes of the podcast, head on over to our website, iamsaltlake.com. This is where you can check out the entire back catalog of conversations that we've had. Over 300 conversations, over 300 episodes right there on the website. Check them out. All the links to subscribe in iTunes or Stitcher Radio, wherever you listen to podcasts, make sure to subscribe right there at iamsaltlake.com. All right, with all that being said, let's cut the chit-chat here. Let's jump into that conversation that we had with Shannon Barnson when he came over to our studio and shared his story. Enjoy.
I'm ready to go. I'm cocked.
You're ready to go?
I'm ready to fucking rock.
We'll talk to him after 2 beers and a flask.
I love it, Shannon. What did your childhood smell like?
Coors.
Coors.
Yeah.
Like Coors.
Are we started?
Coors Light?
We're going, man.
Oh, geez.
Well, and I'll edit stuff out, man, if it doesn't.
What did my childhood smell like? It smelled like West Valley.
West Valley.
Yeah, that's where I grew up. Lower middle class home.
You lived there your whole life in West Valley, or how long did you live over in West Valley for?
I lived there until I was 19, and then I moved out and got a place in Salt Lake. Yeah. My dad was like the head bartender at the Western Club.
Oh,
like
okay.
most
Right
of the
on.
Wait, the Westerner right there on Redwood?
On Redwood.
Yeah.
He
Really?
was like during the heyday of like the honky tonk days, like the middle to late 70s through the middle to late 80s. My dad was the head bartender there. That was his job.
Did you ever go for like take your kid to work day?
I went every Saturday.
Really?
Oh, really?
And people
Yeah.
didn't have problems back then with it?
It's the fucking 70s, man.
Yeah, the 70s are a little more loose.
So, like, honestly, me and my younger brother, Robert, would go there every Saturday and we'd sit at the bar and we would eat microwavable sandwiches because that was a new thing. And we'd watch Channel 13 before it was Fox 13. We'd watch Godzilla, like, movies.
Yeah.
That's
in the
so
afternoon
awesome.
and drink with the rummies that were there at 2:00 in the afternoon and get free credits on the video games and free, like, it created my lifelong love of jukeboxes.
In your lifelong love of booze?
Of booze and bars. And,
Gotta start young.
no, and it's fine. So the thing I always think of, though, is like we would earn our allowance by going out, and we would go out and clean up the parking lot of the Western Club in like 1978.
Look at that.
But
wow.
I think now it's like, how many needles did I pick up, or condoms, not knowing what they were, and
Like, look, Dad, a balloon.
Good work
yeah,
ethic.
Dad. You know, so that's what my childhood smelled like.
You know,
Old beer.
before you got here, Shannon, Chrissy made the perfect representation of this interview with you. You're like my unicorn
Yeah.
with Geek Show Podcast, pretty
Okay.
much, of coming on I Am Salt Lake. Well, I guess you and Tony. I haven't had Tony on yet.
Okay.
But everybody else. It's taken me almost 6 years
Well, I've said I'd be on it.
to, yeah, but our schedules haven't lined up.
Right.
And
Well, the best thing is, like, I was talking to Chrissy who was setting this up, and there was a bunch of times, and I was like, I don't like any of those times.
and no,
And I was like, I know we need. Okay, whatever
Can we
you
do a
want.
Friday, please?
no,
You know,
and I like it. I like a man that, hey, you know what? Get out there and say what you want.
Damn straight.
But I'm excited to have you on here and other people. I have a few questions.
Okay.
That people are like, we'll ask Shannon about this and ask Shannon about that.
All right.
But you know what?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous.
Are you?
Why?
Yeah, I haven't done. Well, you know, I've had a lot of stuff happen to me,
Yeah.
and I haven't done one of these kind of podcasts since I was on.
Obviously oblivious with
Which,
Mike.
does that even exist anymore?
Well, you know, it's funny because I listened to that interview, which, I mean, Mike interviewed like everybody in Salt Lake at that time, right?
Right.
Like, and I was going to listen to it before I brought you on here, but like the feed, you know, is so old. It was such an old podcast.
Yeah.
I guess the feed wasn't kept up.
I guess. Yeah. So this is like, and so much has happened since that.
Should we
That
talk about
one-
all of it?
Well,
Let's just get it
You
all
know,
out.
and here's the thing. I'll tell you. I'll
And
you
I
can
can
ask me anything, and if I don't want to answer, I'll go. I'm like, no.
No, and that's fine. And that's fine.
And I'm
Shannon.
pretty open. I don't. you
Yeah.
know.
And if there is anything, I mean, I can edit or delete. You know how it is. Let's jump right. Well, you know what? I'm going to jump. There's a few questions here. I'm going to jump
Are
around
these
a
from,
little.
people?
Yeah,
Okay.
man. So,
All right.
well, let's see here. We have an I Am Salt Lake Facebook community. Isaac from Salt Lake Barber Company. I don't know if you know Isaac Atencio. Anyway, he wanted to ask you what some of the gnarliest things you saw go down while working as a bartender at Burts Tiki
at
Lounge.
Burts.
Because you were a bartender there, right?
For
Or
14 years.
14
Holy cow.
years.
I spent most of my adult life.
Do you miss Burts?
I don't miss working there.
Yeah.
Being a bartender's hard.
Is it?
Yeah. Be nice to bartenders.
I
Don't-
thought about being a
don't,
bartender.
Yeah. Don't whistle at them and don't snap at them. Don't ask them for cheap drinks. Burts, man. That place was crazy. If you don't know what Burts was, it was a punk rock dive bar. It's the first place I went when I was 21.
the first.
No, it was the second. I went to the place called the Bar and Grill, and then I went to Burts when I was 21, and I just basically never left. I started working there when I think I was 24, and no, well, I don't know, I can't remember, but I was there for 14 years. Burts was a fucking crazy place. I miss having Burts around because it was a place where you could just go and
Have a cheap beer.
have a cheap beer, but there was usually somebody cool there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you go there at 5 o'clock, you know, even if you didn't work there, you'd know like 5 people if you were there enough. And even if there was nobody there, everybody that worked there was really cool.
Yeah.
You know? So I missed that part of it a lot. It had a bad rep that it was like a,
Dirty.
well, it was dirty. It was dirty as shit.
You know
man.
what it sounds like to me though? Like I wasn't around when that was around.
You never went to Burt's, Chrissy?
I know. No, I wasn't in.
she was
you
a
know,
mom.
I wasn't here. I was a mom,
Okay.
right? So, but to me, it sounds like Walt Disney World. You know, like the Tiki Lounge where the birds sing at
Oh,
you. and
God, it
stuff?
was nothing like
I
that.
totally feel like that's exactly what it
was
would be.
the furthest thing from a
But yeah,
tiki
it was a
lounge.
shithole, and the people that worked there, we're the ones that made it work. It was not the people that own the place. We made it work despite.
Is that because
the
you
ownership.
actually really loved it?
We loved it. Like
Yeah.
we loved that place. We held it together with literally duct tape. Like
And
one
bobby
of the
pins.
No, there was one time when the disgusting men's restroom was falling apart,
Oh
and
man.
I went and I covered the walls in duct tape so it didn't fall apart. But it was fun. It was crazy. Like I used to book the bands there too, and that's what I miss seeing like random awesome bands. Like I booked Jack White here before he was Jack White. God, like you'd see people either on their way up or on their way down, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was
And
really exciting or really sad.
Well, what was the gnarliest thing you saw? Like
the gnarliest. Okay, so I'm just going to say this once. 14 years I worked there, and it had this reputation of being like the super rough place, and like really you'd only got your ass kicked there if you deserved it. You know what I mean? We were like super protective of women there and stuff like that. But the gnarliest thing I ever saw.
I mean, did you see any big fights?
Oh shit!
Or did you see like? Or did you?
I got two.
Yeah.
So one night we're having this, and I'll just say I hate death metal so much.
Really?
Oh God, I'm so glad I never have to involuntarily hear another death metal band ever in my goddamn life.
And there was probably a ton of them there.
Yeah.
It seemed like that's the crowd. There.
No, it wasn't. We were more punk rock and more like rockabilly.
Sure.
But death metal too. And one night we have this death metal band, and it was crowded, and something happens, and the power starts going out. The power's like fluctuating, and I was like, because the band up on the stage, I think it was a local band actually called the Pagan Den. I'm like, oh, these people are so evil that summon the fucking devil, man. Right? And like the power is like going off and on, and people are freaking out and stuff like that. And it just turns into this brawl, right?
Yeah.
Like you see in like the Western movies, right? Everybody is fighting each other.
Like breaking chairs on each other.
Fucking bottles.
Oh my God.
People are getting hit in the head with bottles and stuff. And it spilled out the doors. And they started like out the doors, off the sidewalk, and into the street, into State Street. Like just this riot, right? Cars are like,
oh my gosh.
And somehow the fight ended up moving into and I'm calling the cops. We never called the cops at Burts. Because here's a fun fact about Utah, if you're a bar. The more you call the cops, the more you're on the radar, the more they come around. And the more
and the last thing you want is cops to come around.
Yeah, advise cops because the laws here are unfair. And if they want to shut you down, they'll shut you down no matter what. Even if you run a perfect place. So, which we weren't. So this fight goes all the way back into the Sears parking lot. Right? And it's just like, it's like 50 people. Just
no shit.
Fucking beating the shit out of each other. I call the cops. The cops show up. They only sent 2 cops, and the cops started getting punched. So they called more cops.
Oh my gosh.
And I think by the end of it, there was like 20 cops, 50 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the vans hauling people off, man. And I'm just like, I'm calling the boss. I was like, so we had a little bit of a problem down here tonight. Like so that was the craziest one.
Who owned Burts Tiki Lounge? Is that public information?
I don't want to say their names.
Okay, no, that's fair enough.
But
yeah,
I hate because one of them I don't hate so much. One of them I completely hate.
Okay, no, that's fair enough.
One of them might be the brother of the guy that directed SLC Punk, which is a shitty movie. And the sequel's even worse. We're
gonna get hate mail for that.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad movie.
Yeah, and it was a lie.
Yeah, true.
Heroin Bob was totally on heroin. Anyway, so that was the worst one.
Movie forever.
But the other one that was really bad is some guy was at the bar and he was shooting his mouth off, and a bunch of guys decided we're gonna fuck you, and they started kicking the shit out of him. They got him out front again, and I saw this guy laying on the sidewalk, and he was like looked like they were like just giving the boots to him. It was like some of the guys from
like boots to the face.
Oh, just everybody on all sides, everywhere. And this guy looked like an animal that was just getting, I was like, oh, he's going to die. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it was some of the guys from the tattoo shop next door. I'm like, I can't watch somebody die. So
that's a good rule. I like that rule.
That's pretty much, as a teacher, I do that too. But I jumped and I laid down on top of the guy. And I took about 7 boots.
No shit.
Yeah. And they go, oh shit, it's Shannon. Stop it. So those were the 2 worst.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I once saw a guy try to ride his motorcycle into the bar, but
tried to ride in.
Yeah, his handlebars were too wide, so he couldn't quite make it through that door. And he was revving, going, and he's going, "Where's the pussy?"
Oh my gosh.
That place was fun. It was a good time.
Man,
Let's
that
talk
sounds
about
like a good
Geek
time.
Show, man. Let's talk Geek Show.
10 years.
You
like
actually
next month.
You're 10 years because so Amy, who owns the Ruins, made a comment because I posted it up on Instagram how I was going to be chatting with you, and she said, "I guess Geek Show is doing their 10-year anniversary. I guess at the Ruins, the end of May.
Yeah,
talk about that. What do you know? What you're like a live show? I guess live record.
I think we're just doing a live show.
Yeah.
We're just gonna do a live show, but I've been talking to them like I want to do like some more events because we don't. So we used to do like movie night and stuff, and I kind of miss like meeting up with the fans and stuff. So I've been like tossing around like maybe I'll organize a couple like because it's like our 10-year year, you know, and so I think we're just gonna do a couple live shows and then just kind of hang out and talk to people. It's the day before Memorial Day, the Sunday before Memorial Day. But I've been talking like I want to do Geek Prom. I want to get like a DJ.
Have you ever done
my
that before?
gosh.
Have you ever done Geek Prom?
No, but I mean, I was a promoter for 14 years.
If they do Geek Prom, can we go?
Well, who's going to be your date?
Chris, you should probably go.
You? Maybe?
Yeah.
A picture of you?
It's crazy to me that it's like, cause I've been thinking about it a lot, like, and I can't believe it's been 10 years. And I think about how much my life has changed over 10 years and how much being on Geek Show helped me like survive a lot of it. Yeah, it blows my mind.
Talk about that. How did you, cause you kind of are the original OG of Geek Show, right?
I'm one of the OGs. Yeah.
You comfortable with talking about the start of Geek Show?
Oh, sure. So it all goes back to my relationship with Kerry Jackson.
How did that, cause you used to call up the radio,
Yeah.
right?
So I called Radio from Hell. I was 16 getting ready for school one day and they would just have check-ins. Like people, like whoever wanted to call, you called, right? So, I picked up the phone in my bedroom and I called and I just said, Hey guys, I'm trapped in my bathroom and I can't get out and, I'm scared. What should I do? And Bill Allred just goes, flush. All right, I'll try it. And I hung up, right? I called back the next day and I said, hey, I'm the guy that called yesterday that was trapped in my bathroom and I took your advice. I flushed myself and, I got out and I think I must have hit something radioactive. Long story short, I became this character named Shannon, the Amazing Sewer Boy. And I was a superpower. I was a superpowered, I had the powers of the sewer. It was West Valley superhero. And I had a regular spot. I would call in like one day a week, you know, and I'd spend my whole week like writing my bit and just became like really good friends with Kerry. In fact, when I was like 17, I ran away from home because
everybody does, right? When they're 17.
I did it, man. I drove my car to the Albertsons on 5600 West. It's not there anymore.
You took off. Yeah.
Dropped my car off there. Said, hey, I'm going to work. Left my car there and I asked Kerry to come pick me up and I went and stayed in his house in Ogden for a week.
No shit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And didn't contact your family at all?
Waited for a week and I called my mom and I was like, you ready to talk? Can we talk? And she started screaming at me again. I just went click. And that was before caller ID or anything like that, you know?
And so wait,
you should
how
be a
old were
terrorist
you then?
negotiator.
I was 17.
You were 17 and Kerry was hiding a fugitive.
Yeah. Him and his wife at the
Nice.
time.
I'm kidding.
No, so like Kerry and I just became good friends. And then like, when I moved out at 19, I knew Lee George Cade. I went to high school with him.
Okay.
And that's who I moved out of. I moved out with when I was 19 because I was scared to tell my parents I had a kid on the way. And so I started living with Lee, and I met all these assorted characters that included Jeff Weiss and his brother. And one time, Kerry goes, "Hey, Bill's going to be out of town. Do you guys want to come on for the last hour of Radio from Hell?" And it was called Geek Chat back then. We'll just do like a show where we talk about nerdy stuff like we do when we go to the Indian restaurant every Saturday. Like we would just go to an Indian restaurant and do what we do on Geek Show, right?
But this was longer than 10 years ago that you were doing this.
So yeah, that was, God, we were doing that for years.
Yeah. So cause the 10 year was more of the podcast.
Yeah. I was like you know, in my 20s.
So like maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah. 5 years earlier. Yeah, right now.
You said in your 20s.
So we would do it and people loved it and it was fun. And then Kerry was like, when podcasts became things like, you guys know what a podcast is? I was like, no, you know, and he's like, well, and explained to us like, we should do Geek Show as a podcast. He's like, we should do it. And we finally decided, okay, we'd do it. And that's how it happened, you know?
And where were you recording your first? Because like now you record in Kerry's basement, right?
We always recorded at Kerry's house.
Always.
Always in his basement.
The same house or different
Same
house?
house.
Same house.
Yeah. But he actually halfway through, he changed it actually with the permission of his long-suffering wife, Suzanne, let him build an actual studio. So we've got like an actual
I've heard it's pretty
studio.
legit.
It is. Not as legit as this shit is nice.
Oh,
Man.
whatever. Thank you.
know?
We do what we can.
But yeah, it's crazy. It's like it's like my favorite thing to do. Like if I swear it's the release I've always needed. Like I wanted to be in radio and it just didn't quite work out. You know, I love it. I love sitting down and everybody knows we record 3 episodes every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Because we started doing it when we started, we'd do it once a week.
And that
right?
probably got old.
Well,
it's
we
hard-
were fine with it. All the dudes were fine with it. All our wives were like, this is bullshit. You know what I mean? 'Cause
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's because
I'd be like, yes, go, please.
get out of here.
Yeah. I would like for an hour instead of like, oh, yeah. And I don't get it either. It's like, oh, no. So you guys think it's a better plan that we go for 3 hours and drink for 3 hours?
And then just come home messed up.
I just come, yeah.
So you don't. So you go for every 3 weeks. You record. Have you've never done any other podcast besides like be on a podcast like this, right? You never. Geek Show was the only one you
Geek
ever
Show
did.
is my thing. I'm considering doing my own.
I was curious if you've ever thought about doing your own. Really?
Yeah, and was just like I'm a teacher, man. I'm broke, and I don't have the money to buy the equipment or whatever.
Yeah, you could do it pretty inexpensive, I think.
Probably.
Yeah.
I've thought about it.
What would you do a podcast about, Shannon?
I know these 2 dudes. One guy's a banker. The other guy is he's an old ex-convict from Philly. Who smokes a lot of weed, and he has some medical issues. But he's fucking hilarious. I'm still trying to formulate. That's part of the problem. It'd be Shannon, the banker, and Rob figure it all out. And we would just take on like the day, the news of the day or whatever and talk it out. It'd be hard to explain unless you know those guys. It would be hilarious.
Well, you should do
It
it.
would be hilarious.
You should totally do
I
it.
might. But the other one, Kerry and I have been talking about doing a spinoff of Geek Show.
Really?
Yeah. It would be called The 2 Old Divas. Which started, that was what I started calling us, the last time we went to San Diego Comic-Con. It was like right after Jeff Weiss died. And we like did it to honor him. We all went out together. Do you guys know what Hall H is at Comic-Con?
I know.
Okay. So Hall H is the thing where you see like all the big movie stars come out and they like talk about like every single movie
Everything
that's
they
coming
do.
out. You know, this one's coming out. You know, the Avengers are there and Harry Potter and Walking Dead. So people like sleep outside in a giant line the night before to get into Hall H.
It's like the front of an Apple store before something's
Oh,
released.
but worse, there's like thousands and thousands of people, right? So everybody's like, let's all get into Hall H, man. Let's do it. We're all here together. Let's get into Hall H. And they're all like laying down on the ground. It's hot, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, if I lay down and sleep on the ground, I'm not going to be able to get back up tomorrow. And I'm just sitting there walking around looking, and I go, look at Kerry. I go, hey, boss, I'm not fucking into this at all. I'm like,
This is not happening.
let's go back to the hostel. We
Yeah.
were staying at a hostel. We get like a deal on a hostel in San Diego. And he's like, oh my God, thank God. Thank God you said that, man. I didn't want to be the one to do it, because everybody thinks I'm so hoity-toity anyway. So we did. We went back to the hostel. We had some drinks. And then we got up the next morning and we went to Comic-Con for a little bit. And then we was like, let's go get lunch at a bar, because it's right there by the gas lamp district. And so we're getting texts from our friends inside. It's like, oh my God, this was just announced. And we're literally sitting on our phones having drinks and wonderful foods. And we're getting announcements
Updates.
on our phone.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, we're reading that right now too. And we didn't have to sleep on the ground. And I feel fantastic. So that's what I was like.
You hit an age
but
finally
every
where
time
you're
I
like-
texted about it or put a thing out on Facebook or whatever, it was the hashtag 2 Old Divas. So we do a thing called Broken News on
the Geek Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we record that every week. Whoever can show up on Sunday, we go into Kerry's house. A couple of weeks ago, it was just me and Kerry. And we were just joking. It's like, so this is a preview of our new podcast, 2 Old Divas. Right? And it was us just bitching about stuff,
You should do it.
You guys are in for the long
people,
haul.
they loved it. And so Kerry and I were talking about, but like making a podcast, it's not like you just like sit down in front of a mic and just start talking. You got to have some idea of what you're doing.
Yeah, you do. It is.
So we're trying to figure out a format. We're thinking maybe we'll just like pick a subject and just rant for 40 minutes.
I could
maybe
dig
like
it.
once a month. I don't know.
I love it. Let's actually take a quick break. We need to play a message here from our sponsors. And then when we come back, I want to talk about the Mediocre Geek Show live show at Brewvies. There was a question from one of the listeners. I wanted you to talk about it. So
that was a great day.
When we come back, hang tight. Alrighty, it's that time of the podcast where we take a few minutes of your time, tell you about our awesome sponsors. These are some great businesses that are doing a lot to support the podcast. So when you support them, you're supporting us. Hey, this episode of the podcast is proudly sponsored by Market Source Real Estate. Hey, if you love the charm and character of old homes, you need to contact our friends Monique and Jeremy Higginson of Market Source Real Estate. For the past 17 years, they've been specializing in helping people buy and sell homes in Sugar House in the greater Salt Lake area. They have an intensive background of flipping houses and owning almost 24 homes themselves, so they kind of know the ins and outs of older homes. If you're looking to sell your home, Market Source Real Estate specializes in helping sellers update and repair their homes, which increase the value and make sellers more money. If you're looking to buy an old home, they know what to look for in older homes so you don't end up buying a money pit. You can find all of their info at thinksaltlakecity.com or give them a call at 801-810-6773. This episode of the podcast is proudly sponsored by Five Wives Vodka. When you're in Texas, you can drink Tito's, but when you're in Utah, you better be drinking Five Wives Vodka. So the next time you're at your local bar or state liquor store, make sure to ask for Five Wives Vodka. They actually have 3 different flavors I want to tell you about really quick. A lot of people, you're familiar with the original Five Wives Vodka. This is made from Utah mountain spring water. It's 100% distilled corn spirit, and it's gluten-free. The spring is hidden up in beautiful Ogden Canyon, and it's inaccessible by vehicle, so the water has to be hiked out 5 gallons at a time. They also have the Five Wives Sinful, which is a flavored vodka, has a delicious cinnamon taste, and unlike all those other cinnamon products that give you that cinnamon candy taste, Sinful is like a morning cinnamon roll with only 76 calories per ounce. They also have the Five Wives Heavenly, which is a flavored vodka with a delicious vanilla taste. It's Heavenly's rich, buttery vanilla flavor. It comes through without coating your taste buds with sugar, and this results in more vanilla and less calories. Head on over to Five Wives Vodka website, fivewivesvodka.com. This is where you can get tons of recipes, more information, and everything you need to know about Five Wives Vodka. And the next time you're at your local DABC, which is your local state liquor store, make sure to pick up an extra bottle of Five Wives Vodka. And many thanks to Five Wives Vodka for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by HostGator. Every small business needs a website. Every small business needs a home of theirs on the web. You know, I talk to people on a daily basis. They feel if they're on a social media site like Facebook or Instagram, they don't need a website. And this couldn't be the furthest from the truth. There is a lot of people, including people like my mother, who aren't on social media. So they need to go to a website. And HostGator is one of the world's most popular web hosting companies for a reason. It offers guaranteed 99.9% uptime and excellent user-friendly interface via cPanel in superb pricing. I Am Salt Lake Podcast has actually been hosting their website on HostGator for almost 6 years now, so it's got to be good if we stuck with them this long, right? They have a free website builder, 4,500 templates for you to pick from, 24/7, 365-day technical support. They give you unlimited email addresses. And for I Am Salt Lake podcast listeners, if you go to HostGator.com, use the promo code I Am Salt Lake, you're going to get your first month of hosting for only a penny. Again, go to HostGator.com, use our promo code I Am Salt Lake, get your first month for only a penny, and you'll be thanking us later on. So trust me on that one. And many thanks to HostGator for sponsoring this episode of the podcast.
obviously I'm like I hate talking on the mic. If you've
Yeah, you're
noticed.
so bad at it.
Yeah, man. So we'll get going. We'll get chatting. So do you know Jeff Futzer?
I do know the Futz.
Mr. Futz. Yeah.
He's a great guy.
He said,
I don't see him nearly enough.
He
I
said,
haven't seen him in forever.
Ask Mr. B about the Mediocre Geek Show podcast in Salt Lake at Brewvies over
Brewvies,
there,
yeah.
which I actually was not at, but I've heard stories. I've seen pictures. I've heard it was an incredible day. Let's just do a little recap of that day. Shannon, what was that day like?
It was super fun. Like, first of all, it was just like,
because I know Futzer's a big Mediocre Show fan.
yeah.
And
First of all, it was just nice to meet those guys face to face. That was back when it was him and Mike Pilot and
Hope.
It was so cool to meet them like face to face. Back in the day, I don't know what it's like now, but back then there was such a crossover between Geek Show and Mediocre Show. Like the fans and stuff. And like everybody was so excited and it was really, really cool. It was funny. So how we did it is we recorded a Geek Show, we recorded a Mediocre Show, and then we recorded a crossover show last. We just killed on like Geek Show. We always do great in front of a live audience. I wish we did it in front of a giant live audience like every week because it's so like
the energy.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they did too. They killed. The theater was full like we did in one of the theaters. But then on our crossover episode, fucking Brewvies, man. God, I could say it now because like most people I love that used to work there are gone. That place needs to get their shit together. Like I'm serious. Actually, it was the same thing as Burts, man. Like the place has got a license to print money. You know what I mean? But anyway, so this place the theater is full, right? And they're fans of Geek Show and the Mediocre Show, and they're just drinking the place dry.
Yeah,
you know. And we start our crossover show, and we both ran a little late, right?
Sure.
With both of our shows. They walk in, I swear to God, like 25 minutes into our show, it's like, you guys got to stop.
Brewvies did.
Yeah.
No
we're
kidding.
Like, We're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And
Right,
they were
right in the middle of the recording.
Yeah. Because, we've got it was some shitty rom-com. We've got it scheduled that we're going to show some, like, seriously, shitty rom-com at this time. And you guys are going over.
Oh, wow.
And we're like, are you serious
As
right
you're
now?
bringing them money with
Right. And we're like,
and food.
Yeah. And we go, well, how many tickets you sold? And they're like 7.
Let's
we're
get
like,
all
huh?
the people out to get those 7 people in.
And I literally looked at him. I go, so are you guys are going to, step over $1 to pick up a dime?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we just have to. And they did. They kicked us the fuck out. We didn't.
Way.
And so it was like only like a 30-minute long thing. And it was super fun. And I can't believe we could do it because there was like 11 people
All the way across.
on the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we all just went out in the front, like out. I used to call it the wild card lounge. I'm the wild card.
Yeah.
Because when we do like our movie nights and stuff there, I would never watch the movie. I just sat and drink.
That's right. You guys don't do those there anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, they need to get their shit together.
It's fair. It's fair.
But so we all we're just like, well, this is stupid. And we all just went out and drank there. And then like, let's go to Burts. And we took like that. Like we took like 70 people to Burts.
And just walked over there?
Yeah. We just walked over
yeah.
and just had a good time. It was super fun.
I wish there was more stuff like that going on, but I mean, I guess you have the live shows coming up, like at the Ruins and stuff like.
And we do our stuff at Comic-Con.
Yeah, you do. How many Comic-Cons have you been to now? Have you been to others besides San Diego and Salt Lake City, or
I've
just
been to Denver, but I've never we've never recorded or anything there. I've just gone to go. I'm kind of
cons are kind of over them. Too old.
Yeah, I'm too old. Well,
You're too old divas.
I've got like anxiety issues now because of some things that have happened to me. So it gets like a little bit too much.
Like
Specifically at
claustrophobic.
cons?
Oh, a con, like just, which is weird because like I was never like that. I didn't give a shit. I could be anywhere. Like I'm good at the Salt Lake ones because I know all the escape routes. You know what I mean? I can like blast out the back door and get
Get away.
Is this like if people are coming to trying to talk to you?
No,
or?
that doesn't bother me at all. It bothered this person, my ex-girlfriend. I never hear it anymore. Oh, that's Shannon from Geek Show. Oh my God. That must be,
Mm-hmm.
that must be.
Well, I mean, you were in a comic, right?
Yeah, I was in Harley Quinn #7.
Yeah.
But
So people know what you look like.
yeah, and it's my voice more.
Mm-hmm.
People hear my voice and they go, "Oh, is that you?" And that doesn't bother me. Like, sometimes it scares me. Sometimes I don't know, but
Oh, I mean, I've gotten it before, you
Yeah.
know. I used to drive Uber, and people
Yeah.
would get in the car and they'd be like,
Are you Chris?
"Hey, you're Chris from I Am Salt Lake."
Yeah.
You know, so I get it.
Like, I would just say to people, don't be creepy about it. One time I was at the Smiths on 21st South and 9th East. And our thing is always you walk up, you say, Geek Show says, hey.
Right.
And we go, hey, from Geek Show. Right? So, but some people don't do it right.
How do you do it wrong? What do you do?
This is how you do it wrong. I'm shopping at the grocery store, right? Rolling around, just being me. Cause I forget, man, I'm a school teacher most of the time. Go and do Geek Show every 3 weeks, right? Got my little shopping cart. I always get the small one because it makes me feel like I can escape if there's a problem. And, this lady walks up behind me, like right behind my ear and goes, Geek Show says, hey. And I went, what the fuck? And I spun around like with my hand up, you know?
That's
I was like, hey, from
amazing.
Geek Show, what the fuck? And I just like ran away.
Where did that little thing come from? The whole Geek Show says, hey, is there a story behind that?
It's from the, this is going to date me and Kerry. It's from the Andy Griffith Show.
I used to watch that show. What did they do in that? They would say,
Goober says, hey.
okay.
Hey from Goober.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I've always
that's where it comes from.
I've always been curious of that.
Yeah, that, and I don't know where the, I think I said eat more ham one time,
And that's like your big
and
thing
now I'm
now.
stuck with it. I'm like, I have to like come up with some ham bit by the end of every show. And sometimes it's like, there's like, oh my God, 90 seconds before the end of the show, and I got to come up with one. That's hard. My life is hard, people.
So
Sounds
you
hard.
mentioned a couple of times now, Shannon, how you're a teacher. I didn't think you talked about that on podcast. You actually convinced people you worked at the 7-Eleven.
Yeah. So, okay. So,
Unless you want me to delete all that.
this is fine.
Okay.
No, we can talk about it because everybody knows it's the worst kept secret in town.
Yeah.
So we started Geek Show, and the first time we recorded it, we didn't think anybody was going to listen to it. Like, honestly, once again, this was in the very early days of podcasting.
And you were probably just doing it for yourselves at that
we were
point.
like, I think people will listen to it. We thought maybe 200 people. And this is while I was going to school to be a teacher.
Wait, you have more than 200 listeners? I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, so our first one, we did it, and our first one we put out got 2,000 listeners. And we were like,
Holy
shit.
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, think about it.
That's incredible.
I mean, that, you know,
Especially
early
for back
2000s.
then. I mean, who is
The
listening to podcasts?
Yeah, the early 2000s. And you know, it's not lie because, Kerry was involved in it. And you know what I mean? We had a leg up going into it, right? I'll tell you this right now. If I would have known, I would have used a stage name.
Like an alias.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried. So I tried to put it back in the bottle, but it was too late. I remember, who was the first guy that was the co-host that I just loved? Kitten Sparks.
Oh, yeah.
Kitten Sparks from the Mediocre Show. I love that dude.
Yeah.
One of my favorite fucking people on the planet. That guy killed me. But he had a pseudonym because he was like a federal cop or something.
Something like that, yeah.
It was his real first name, and then Kitten Sparks was his last name. And when it became popular, I was like, I'm going to school, and we tried to do it clean for a bit, and then that didn't work, and so we started getting dirty. And I'm one of the dirtiest on there, right? And I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna get me fired.
Have you ever had parents call you up and be like,
I've had
heard your
parents
last
go,
episode.
no, because I work in a super Title I school in right off of Redwood Road in Glendale. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they're not finding podcasts. That's the thing about podcasts. You have to go looking for it. But I have had 2 parents that listen to the podcast, and I was like, okay. And they're like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. You know what I mean? But, I tried to be like, you guys, we can't say my last name anymore. We can't do it. And so I
Is that where the Mr. B probably came then? No,
No, Mr. B is like my teacher name, which is even worse, right? We tried for like a month to change my name to Shannon Puppy Embers instead of Kitten Sparks, right?
Puppy Embers?
Puppy Embers.
sounds
Yeah.
like you burnt a puppy. Like,
But it just didn't work.
Yeah.
So now I just tell like whoever like puts our stuff on YouTube or whatever, just don't put my last name.
But the 7-Eleven, where did that?
Oh, the 7-Eleven. So I would just,
Because didn't people go there looking
Okay, so
for you?
I said that for years that I worked, it was a 7-Eleven down the street from my house where I lived with my ex-wife. the 7-Eleven on 5th East and 17th South.
Yeah. No, I know that.
And I was like, yeah. So I would say I worked there. And, come in and look for me. I'm in the back most of the time. So you got to ask. You got to ask for me. Right. And people would do it. They'd go in and looking for me. And every once in a while, when somebody would come to pick me up to go record Geek Show, I'm like, let's stop at the Sev. And we stop at the Sev and I go, hey, is Shannon working today? And they go, we don't know who that is. No, you know.
Oh,
it's one of my favorite things.
I love it. Oh man, what else do you do with your time, Shannon? When
else do I do with my time?
When you're not teaching and you're not podcasting, I like to find out a little bit more about people. We bring on the podcast. I mean, you drink a lot, right?
No, well, not a lot.
Define a lot.
Probably more than most. What do I do?
Movies? You like movies?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Movies. I like fucking with people on the internet.
Are you a troll?
Apparently, on accident.
All right.
You probably have like 3 or 4 fake Facebook accounts.
No,
right?
I don't.
Right?
I don't have any of those. I like to read.
Yeah.
No, so I'm going to say I don't give a shit. So people got to stop being so sensitive.
Why would you care about saying that, Shannon?
Okay, so
a lot of people can learn
It's
those
true.
words of wisdom.
And people are just like, and it's not over even big stuff anymore. It's over like the stupidest stuff.
Are you talking about like on
I think
Facebook?
in general, people are looking to be
pissed.
offended. Yeah, they're trying to find reasons to be offended instead of just like being cool.
I got to see, I'm lucky, right? Because Jimmy is one of my best friends.
Sure.
And I'm media. I always get to see the big movie before it comes out, which is great because I don't want it spoiled. And in turn, I'm never going to spoil a movie for anybody. I would never do that.
Wait, you're talking about a recent Facebook thing that you happened to,
so it was
right?
today.
Yeah.
As we record this today, I got to see Infinity War. The movie I've been waiting for
jealous.
40.
Oh my gosh.
I've been waiting for this movie for 40 years. My grandma bought me my first comic book at 6 years old. I've been reading comics since I was 6. I didn't think I would ever see anything that I've seen like superhero wise on screen for like the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. Certainly not something like Infinity Wars, right? Where they're all together. And I'm sorry, if you've never, it's based on a comic book series called The Infinity Gauntlet, right? And Thanos is the villain. Thanos is all about death. His whole thing is like, the universe is overrun by life. We are eating up all our resources, right? There's too many people. It's causing too many wars. I'm going to kill half the life in the universe. And by the way, I'm going to get a shirt that says Thanos is right. Anyway.
So people thought you spoiled it.
Well, no. So in the comic books, like he smashes Steve Rogers, Captain America's head. He grabs Iron Man and rips him in half in the comic book, right? Like Thanos plus an Infinity Gauntlet equals mass casualties.
Total
Everybody
destruction.
fucking knows that.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, like even if like you're a casual geek, you had to know it's called the Infinity War. It's a big deal. It's the culmination of 10 years. You have to know walking into that movie that's at least one person's going to die. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with me?
Oh, sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
One person's going to fucking die at least.
And so you said that and people thought you were spoiling.
I will actually.
Yeah, pull it up there. I can even tighten this up here.
I will read you the actual
the actual Facebook post.
The actual Facebook post that I had to pull down because I got hateful comments and messages.
No shit.
Oh wow.
No shit.
So this isn't a spoiler though for people listening.
No,
you're not spoiling.
Okay, you tell me.
Oh, well,
okay, you tell me. Like I'll read it to you, and you tell me if this is a spoiler. Now, to me, a spoiler is you give away a specific thing that happens in the movie in intricate detail.
Sure.
Is that a spoiler?
Yes.
What would you say, Chrissy? You're more of a movie buff than I am.
I was about to give a spoiler, but I won't. So yes, I agree with you.
But so like, let's say for instance, I got on the internet right after The Usual Suspect came out, and I said this would be a spoiler. Verbal Kant is Kaiser Soze. That's a spoiler.
Okay.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it is.
Or after 7 comes out, Gwyneth Paltrow's head is in the box at the end of 7.
I never saw 7. Thank you,
Well,
Shannon.
fuck you. You've had enough time to see it.
I never saw 7. I did.
Okay. But you know what I mean? Okay. So this is what So I've been reading people, they're just like freaking out. I always say this, get some real problems.
Oh, of course.
They're watching this movie and they leave and it's like destroyed their life. And I'm like, you're stupid. Anyway, so this is the post I put on Facebook this morning. It said, holy shit, people. Number 1, it's just a movie. Number 2, read a comic. Nobody stays dead ever.
That's not a spoiler, in my opinion.
I agree.
So wait, you posted that and people freaked out because of
Freaked
that?
the fuck out, called it a spoiler.
A lot of people?
A lot of people. Like in private messages.
Do you think, here's my question though, do you think maybe one person saw one person complain and it became like a domino effect?
No, because only 2 of them were private. The other ones were all private messages.
Are they people who have not ever read a comic book, who only solely relied on the movies for the story?
I don't know. Or somebody that's never heard anything about this movie for 12 months.
Yeah.
That's seriously
weird.
So
what a weird thing to get offended
Does that
about.
get you upset or does it make you feel bad?
It got me a little upset. And then I felt like an asshole because the last thing I want to do is spoil a movie for somebody.
Well, especially this movie.
This movie, right? But that's not spoiling anything. I'm sorry.
It's not.
No.
It's not at all. You're not saying anything about a specific
I didn't say
character.
who died. I could do it right now. Would you like to know?
No.
Okay,
Maybe.
good.
Just kidding. No, I
I'll
want to
tell
watch
you
it.
off mic
Okay.
if you want to know. But here's the thing. He snaps, just like in the comic book, he gets his, and we all know he gets his Infinity Gauntlet. He snaps his fingers, and half of the universe is gone, which means half the cast is going to go. And it's completely random. My girlfriend, she was pissed. She's like, I never want to see that movie again. Kat Martin was like, fuck this movie. I never want to see it again.
I saw her post and I was like, I can't tell if she loves it or hates it. She did a really good job expressing herself without giving anything away.
Right. And I've noticed like a lot of women are like really pissed off about this movie.
So what do you give it? 2 thumbs up?
Oh, I've loved it. I loved every second of it. And me and Egg, we're going to go see it again next week.
Huh.
So,
Well, you should go
but I'm
see
just
it,
like,
Chrissy.
I don't know. I just say it all the time. Get some real. It's like, I'm so mad that you told me that these fake characters died. I was like, well, you know what? Like half of the people I loved died in a year and a half one time. And I wasn't that big of a dick about it.
No.
Oh, I do know. I just hid in my basement with my pit bull. That's what I do most of the time. I hide in my basement. I'm trying to learn the ukulele too.
Really?
Yeah.
Like teaching yourself off of what, YouTube or?
I got an app.
An app to learn the ukulele.
Are you any good?
No.
So, well, let's see here. So we got 2 kids there, right? Well, they were teaching themselves ukulele
Yeah,
at the house.
2 of my kids were teaching themselves ukulele.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to learn. I'm just terrible at it.
Do you play
I'm
any
terrible
musical
at it, too.
instruments?
No. That's one of my biggest regrets in my life. I wish I would have, I wish I would have been in a band at some point in my life.
What would you have played?
Ukulele?
Ukulele, of
Ukulele
course.
in a rock
Like
band.
a metal.
I tried to teach myself the theremin.
I'm not familiar with that one.
It's that, you heard it in sci-fi
the
movies?
theremin. Isn't that the one with one hand's in the air?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
one's on the. Oh yeah, I learned that on Yo Gabba Gabba.
Yeah, you break magnetic fields.
Yeah,
it's that
right.
sci-fi sound.
It's
from
a super
the
cool
50s.
one.
Ooh, it's in good vibrations.
I'll show you a video later, Chris.
So speaking of music, Shannon, most memorable concert that you've ever been to in your, I bet you've seen it.
Ever? Oh God, that's hard. Well, the most memorable one is the one that turned me into a weirdo.
Which is what?
The Cramps.
Really? Where was that at?
It was at the Speedway Cafe, man.
Wow. I would have loved to see. They're not even around anymore, are they?
No, because the lead singer, Lux Interior, died.
Oh, did he?
Like, it actually, like, I cried. The Speedway Cafe, this was like, I was 16.
It was big in Salt Lake in the 80s, right?
Yeah, so I was what? God, I was 16, so that was like 1985. I bought the cassette at the Sam Goody in Valley Fair Mall.
I remember the Sam Goody at the Valley Fair Mall.
Yeah,
Yes.
And, the cover was cool. And actually, I bought it because on one of the whenever I'd go to X96, like the other thing that would happen to me that I'd left out is my mom and dad, like if Bill was out of town, Kerry had asked me if I'd come and co-host Rated from Hell at like 16. And my mom and dad would let me skip school.
To go do that.
And I'd drive to Ogden.
Because that was back when they were, KXRK? Or
Yeah.
no. Up in Ogden.
No,
right?
they were, KJQ.
KJQ.
And I would drive up to KJQ and I would co-host as a 16-year-old kid.
That is so awesome.
They'd let me off school. So, and every time, for my payment, I got to raid the promo closet. And one time I grabbed an IRS Records cassette sampler that had Crooked Bird on it by the Cramps. And I was like, it just like hit me. I was like, oh my God. Cause my dad loved country music. I loved punk rock. And it was like the first time I'd really heard rockabilly, I guess, or psychobilly. And so then I found a Cramps album at Sam Goody and I just wore it out. Like in my shitty Mustang. It was just like playing all the time. And then back in the day, we would drive up to Crossroads Mall and just like walk around.
Because it was a cool thing to do.
Yeah,
man.
smoke cloves, and just be fucking tough kids, even though I was like not the toughest kid in the world. And I saw a sign up on the back in the 80s, you didn't have the internet and stuff. Like you didn't see on the internet that like shows were coming. You happened upon a handmade poster.
Yeah, man.
That some local person had made that said the Cramps are coming. And I was like,
I gotta get tickets.
Well, and it was no problem. I went and I paid my $7 goddamn or whatever,
I love it.
And I went by myself.
Really?
Yeah. And I drive up and I'm watching the Cramps. Lux in tears. He was a cross-dresser. He comes out and he's in, all he's wearing is a patent leather jacket with his, a patent leather, like, ladies stretch pants. They're so low. You can like see his sex muscles, and he's wearing a pair of ladies flats. He's pale as fuck. His chest is all like scratched up. He looks like a vampire, right? Wow. And I don't know if you've ever heard the Cramps.
Oh yeah. I love them.
So
yeah.
every time, so like when you hear the part in a Cramp song where he goes, right? He's like deep throating the mic, dude.
Oh, really?
So I'm like the 16-year-old kid and he's like deep throating the mic and he's getting down on the stage and he's like fake fucking the mic. And
you're a kid in Utah being like, what the heck is going on here?
At this point, I'd seen like my first concert was Eddie Rabbit. I'd seen the Dead Milkmen a few months before that with the Gamma Rays opening up for him. That's how old those fuckers are. Utah's own Gamma Rays. Anyway, so I'm watching this thing and, the best thing was like, so he had this patent leather jacket on and he had his, arms bent most of the time, right? And he was singing in the mic. And every time he, straightened out his arms, like sweat would just go bloosh out the side. And the two girls of the band were so sexy. And the drummer looked like Roy Orbison. And I'm just like, oh my God. So he leaves and he comes back for the encore and he comes back and all he's got on is the ladies' pumps and a pair of bikini briefs with the Eiffel Tower, printed on where his dick should be and does like 7 more songs. And I was just like, well, that's it for me. You know what I mean? I can't ever go to a goddamn Eddie Rabbit concert ever again. I've been forever changed.
I got to play some Cramps for Chrissy on our drive
it's
home.
It's one of my favorite bands.
They are incredible.
Play sick music for sick people.
Oh, that's
their greatest album.
My I got a brother who's a little bit older than me, and he got to see him. We were living in California. He got to go see him in Tijuana. And
what?
He was saying that because he would go down to Tijuana.
And he's still alive?
Well, he was saying they were off the hook in Tijuana because there wasn't as many laws down there, right?
I can only imagine.
And so I remember him telling me about a Cramps show down in Tijuana.
I think I was lucky enough to see him like 4 times.
Really?
Yeah. It was, yeah.
Let's wrap this show up here, buddy.
Cool, you guys didn't make me cry. That's what I was expecting.
I didn't want to make you cry.
Missed opportunity.
I know. I mean, we have. I've known you a while, Shannon.
Yeah.
And I know
I saved your life once.
Yeah, well,
I did.
Can I hear the story?
Yeah, at one of Jimmy's slip and slide parties.
Oh man, that was the one I threw up in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Well, of course you got to bring that up here on the podcast. I was baking.
Well, I like to call it you were tatered. You were completely tatered,
dude. I was drinking, and it was hot.
Yeah,
and
so.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell the story because I was there. You weren't.
Share this.
Have I heard this story? This is going to be exciting.
So our friend Jimmy Martin used to have
these 4th of July. Yeah, 4th of July.
4th of July slip and slide parties in his backyard. And Chris, he didn't have this beard and stuff back then.
I've seen pictures.
I might have had a little beard,
but not like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, he got straight up fuckered up. Right. And
I've heard a little bit of this story.
Yeah. So he was really drunk and goes and gets a lawn chair and like sits out in the middle of the hot 4th of July sun and just passes out in it. And I didn't know him that well then.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sitting there and I was, halfway tatered. And I look and I go, somebody should probably get that guy out of the sun. He's going to die. that guy's going to fucking die. And I think it was me that actually walked up and was like, hey buddy, come on, let's get you some shade. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're lucky.
And it was hot
Oh,
that
wait,
day.
was
It
that
was-
the year that you got the golden rattle?
It was. I know I got the baby rattle one year.
That was probably it.
That was probably
Because you barked all over the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly, because I
Yeah.
went into the
Like a
bathroom and I guess I went off like a
sprinkler,
sprinkler, and I guess I was holding the line up.
Yeah.
Everybody was trying to, because it was the only bathroom there. And I guess I went to town on their bathroom and I got sent home.
As you should.
Yeah, well, and put to bed.
You know what's ironic is because we talked about this. The first 4th of July party I went to there was with Chris, and I got the baby rattle
Yeah.
You did?
because apparently I was in the pool, like leaning over the side throwing up, and people were like, we should get her out of there before she drowns. And Chris said, no, she's fine.
So, and people who don't know what the baby rattle is, that's like the most drunk fuck up at the party gets that. It was for birds.
We're the first couple.
It was named after baby Bird.
Baby, yeah, the baby. Yeah.
The year I saved his life too.
You're just a
damn, I'm like
hero.
You're a real superhero. You need your own
I am
comic
a party dad.
You are a party dad.
Yeah.
No, I love you, Shannon.
That's
You're a good
awesome.
guy. Like I said, I've been waiting to bring you on the podcast. How can people, what is it, geekshowpodcast.com to listen to
or
Geek
just
Show
any of your
podcast players?
podcast platforms.
How often? Every Monday, right?
Every Monday.
Every
Without fail. We have never missed a week or done a rerun.
And then 10 year
In 10 years.
in 10-year anniversary at the Ruins. Do you know that you don't know the exact date or time or anything?
I don't know when Memorial Day is. It's the Sunday before Memorial Day, and it's like at 6.
Okay. I'll try to find the information, put it at iamsaltlake.com with this episode.
And then also, you could come every Wednesday to Lucky 13.
Oh, yes. We didn't talk about this.
I've been doing a pub quiz there for,
a while.
8 years.
Yeah.
That's right. I didn't even think about that to bring that
We're
up.
at like almost number 400. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not going to lie, it's fun. I know you might have gone to one of the national franchised pub quizzes. Ours is very different. It's much funnier. We don't talk like announcers at a strip club. We don't play 17 minutes of music in between each song. We do it. We have fun and we get out of there. Our prizes aren't as good as theirs though. But it's a much funner thing.
The experience
And
is more
Lucky
important.
13 is a great goddamn place.
Dude, Lucky 13.
Yes.
I had Rob recently on an episode of I Am Salt
Rob
Lake.
Dutton he is one of the only stand-up dudes I've ever known that owns a bar.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, Lucky 13, the heck of a story, heck of a bar, heck of a burger.
Heck of a staff.
What's your favorite burger?
And the chicken fingers there are off the hook.
That's all the nerds that
I'm
got
giving you a hard time.
My favorite burger there is either the Celestial Burger or the Nut Butter.
Nut butter,
Yeah.
man, after my own
Yeah.
heart.
So yeah, come to that. It's fun. I do it with Brian Young. I don't know if you've ever had him on the show.
In the early days.
Yeah.
I need to bring him back through.
He's my straight man.
Yeah.
He's the Abbott to my Costello.
I want to say episode 70 something. I had as Brian. And
What episode is this?
You're going to be like episode 330-ish or so. So that gives you an idea. We're going on 6 years.
Yeah.
This August.
We're OG.
And one of these years, I'm going to beat you guys for best Utah podcast.
Maybe.
That's another story, Shannon. I got to go move. I got to move my car here. It's before the meter
We're
runs
downtown.
out
There's
here.
not a lot of space.
Anyway,
Thanks for having me on.
no, you bet. Anything you want to add? Anything else you want to add, Shannon? Before I let
Give
you
us
go,
one piece of life advice.
piece of life advice.
Jeez.
Some profound thing.
Always give 100% unless you're giving blood.
I love it. That's a great place
Makes
to
me
end
think
the
of
show.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Thank you so much, Shannon. All right. Many thanks again to Shannon Barnson for coming on this episode of the podcast. Head on over to our website. All of the links to connect with him and whatnot, all the social media links, they're going to be right there at iamsaltlake.com/329 for episode 329. Go say hello to Shannon. go subscribe to Geek Show. Go give it a listen. It's another cool podcast here in Utah.
It's a fun show.
Might not be your cup of tea, but you can go listen anyways, right,
I mean,
guys?
it's no I Am Salt Lake.
Hey, let's do a quick recap on Open Streets. I know this happened like a week ago, but this is our first time recording after Open Streets. I had a lot of fun. I met a lot of listeners.
Yeah, I think that was my favorite part is so many of you guys came and said hi to us.
Yeah, I'd like to do more events like that. I don't know if it was hot out there though.
It was really hot.
And I know I'm a wimp because it wasn't even that hot outside.
But there also, sometimes it's fun to just be out and about and see everybody there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And we had some cool gear for sale at that event, which we will be putting up on the website at iamsaltlake.com here shortly. So make sure that you're part of our Facebook group because we're going to be definitely talking about it more on there. iamsaltlake.com/group. It'll take you to our Facebook group. I'm sure we'll be talking about it on our social medias, though, right, Chrissy?
For sure. Yeah.
All right. Many thanks again to our sponsors for making this episode possible. The delicious Five Wives Vodka, our friends over at Market Source Real Estate, and the very awesome HostGator for all your web hosting needs. And many thanks to Access Co-working Spaces for their hospitality. And most of all, many thanks to you, the listener, for coming back episode after episode. You have a great week. Get out and enjoy the city, support local, and we'll see you on the next episode.
And good night, Grammy.